I was actually born here in Savannah. I was a Telfair baby. Was born on January 13th, 1961. Was born with a disability. My mom's physician knew beforehand that I had some sort of issue, but they did not know back in the early 60s too much about osteogenesis imperfecta, which is what I have. I stayed in the hospital for 5 weeks, came home to an older brother who was almost 2 years old, and when I came home, the nursing staff basically put me on a pillow, presented me to my family and said, "Good luck." And it's not luck, it's the Lord's will. And I'm sure that my family struggled a bit to begin with. The question of why and how did this happen and how are we going to get through it. And my parents were strong in the Lord. As a preschooler, I was at home. I didn't start school till 1st grade, and I didn't get my first wheelchair till I started school. My first school was at Eli Whitney, and I was in the multiple handicap class. I rode the school bus, and that first day of school, I was so excited because I was able to get out of home and go meet new friends and learn something. So I did, and I enjoyed school. We had a wonderful teacher, Miss Dushoff, who knew what to do with all of us. We were different ages and different disabilities. And by 4th grade, I was mainstreamed into regular classroom situation. I, at that point, was at Jacob G. Smith for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And then 7th and 8th, I went to Wilder. It was a junior high back then. And then I went to Jenkins as the first 9th grade class going into high school. It was quite a different experience for me. I was excited. My mom was petrified because she just could imagine changing classes and kids in the hallway yelling and cutting up. And the very first day she took me to school, I got in the doorway and everybody just kind of moved out of the way. And a couple of football players said, "I'll take her to her class," and she quit worrying. And my high school experience was very good. Had great teachers and a lot of good friends. And whenever there was anything going on negatively, my friends would certainly make sure that I got out of the way. From there, I received a scholarship for a year's worth of Armstrong State College back then. And so I enjoyed that as well. And then my dad passed away. I was 20 years old when he died, rather unexpectedly. That sort of changed the dynamics of my family. My brother was in school at Georgia Tech. At this point, I was volunteering at Memorial Medical Center and in the chaplain's office. And I had talked to Jason, my husband, off and on, just, "Hey, how you doing?" That was it. And then one day, we had breakfast together. And then not long after that, he asked me out on a date. And I said, okay. So our very first date was at my home, having pizza with my mom. We didn't really plan it that way, but circumstances, it was raining, and Jason doesn't drive, so we spent our date with my mom, and it was perfectly fine.
I'm the Jason that Karen told you about. I'm the light of her life. I was born on October the 9th, 1967. My parents are both physicians and wonderful people. My mother is a neonatologist and my father is a plastic surgeon. And I have 3 younger brothers. I'm born in Richmond, Virginia, and then we moved to Charleston, South Carolina, when my dad was in the military, in the Navy. And afterwards we moved to Durham, North Carolina. Then 3 years later we moved here in 1977. Did all my schooling here in Savannah. I was in 4th grade at Savannah Christian, and then I went to Savannah Country Day School, 5th grade through the 7th grade. But during that time, I incurred a traumatic brain injury when I was hit by a car head on, and was almost to the point of death. I had a therapist work with me for many, many years. When I finished the 7th grade, I went to Memorial Day School, and that's where I did 8th grade through the 11th grade. I initially got into Memorial Hospital in rental equipment. I have been with patient transport for presently now about 19 years. I was on the midnight shift, where I worked the midnight shift, and when I got off work in the morning at 7 in the morning, before I left the hospital, she was a volunteer at the front desk, and I would see her when I was leaving the hospital, and I would show her whatever book I was reading at the time, and I would say hello to her and stuff, and we just got to be good friends. And after a few years, I did ask her out.
We dated for about almost 3 years. He asked me at the 2.5 mark, would I marry him? And I said yes.
And since then, I've been taking good care of Karen. I figured her parents took good care of her growing up. Now it's my turn to take good care of her while we're together. And right now, we have been together 11 years, 7 months, and 21 days. For the most part, we're very good. We have great jobs, and we have a good church that we go to.
Living for Christ, to me, is the biggest challenge we have. My disability is not my burden. It's the burden that's on us is living Christ-like. I will tell you my bout with pneumonia was challenging at best because it was pretty serious, probably the most serious illness I've had. Have that personal relationship with Jesus Christ as Him as your Savior and Lord and friend. When you have those elements in my mind, in your life, and in your spirit, I think it overcomes everything else.